Hey guys, this is Speaking Implications, and welcome to the Robo-Files. Originally, the Robo-Files is something that I did originally sort of documentary style where I narrated with pictures and footage. But the first one that I did about the first film got blocked, one of the parts of it, so I decided, I really want to continue it. But in news, in wake of the recent, distressing news about the script, the remake script and what it entails, I thought I'd do basically a video about, Robocop, and I will still be doing reviews of the Robocop films someday down the road, but I just thought about, just talking about a little bit of the history of the character and basically giving my opinions on everything, on the movies, the TV series, the cartoons, the miniseries. Basically, I want to talk about how far this character has fallen, how it's gone from this badass, awesome, iconic character to a complete joke, and so it's going to be kind of sad. But at the same time, it's gonna feel good, basically getting my opinions on this whole, how RoboCop has been treated. He's been treated really badly. I mean, they're just trying to squeeze every last little bit of blood out of him that they can, and there really isn't anything left. He doesn't have anything left. Sooner or later he's just gonna be, it's just gonna be, a shell, just an empty shell or something. And I really think that he should be, should put him in, I just think he should be left alone. Leave him in the junkyard to rust, because in all honesty, if what they're going to do to him is turn him into fucking Iron Man or a goddamn Transformer, then it's not really worth it. But anyway, let's talk about how this all started. Robocop, as you all know, was a film released in 1987, directed by Paul Verhoeven. And before Robocop, he wasn't really that big of a well-known director. He hadn't done that many really well-known flicks. I think he directed The Fourth Man, which was like a little suspense thriller, sort of like Basic Instinct before Basic Instinct. He also did a movie called Flesh and Blood with Rutger Hauer, which was like a middle-aged movie about the Middle Ages, and he did a movie called Agent Orange. So he did a lot of, I don't think it's called Agent Orange, it's called something else. Maybe it's called Agent Orange. But anyway, he did a lot of, but Robocop was really his first big mainstream film. And this is the first of his really ultra-violent sci-fi films that he pretty much became known for. And the character was inspired by, Judge Dredd, the comic Judge Dredd, and you could definitely see the inspiration from Dredd, Judge Dredd, and the. So basically, basically the character Robocop was inspired by Judge Dredd, as well as the Marvel comic superhero Rom, and that's the Rom Space Knight, which was like a comic that was Marvel did. It was based on a toy that came out at the same time. A Rom comic book appears on the screen during the film's convenience store robbery. And another Rom comic appears in a flashback of Murphy's son. And also, Paul Verhoeven wasn't the original choice for director. They offered Alex Cox, the director of Repo Man, with Emilio Estevez, they offered him the role, they offered him the job, but he decided not to take it, so Paul Verhoeven took it. The inspiration of the script by Edward Neumeyer and Michael Miner, it was basically, they talked about it, I think in a documentary or something. They stated that they got the idea of Robocop. Edward Neumeyer got the idea of Robocop when he walked past a poster for Blade Runner. He asked his friend what the film was about, and he replied saying it's about a cop hunting robots. This then sparked the idea for him about a robot cop. Allegedly, while the two were attempting to pitch the screenplay to Hollywood executives, they were stranded accidentally at an airplane terminal with a high-ranking movie executive for several hours. Here, they were able to speak to him about the project and begin the series of events which eventually became Robocop. So, interesting sort of, lead up to the whole thing. It ended up being distributed by Orion Pictures, This ended up to be one of their more successful films. It ended up making about $8 million on its opening weekend, and it made $53 million during its domestic run, which made it the 16th most successful movie of 1987. So, the critical reception was really good. A lot of critics liked it. Some people didn't like it, but majority of critics enjoyed the film. Excuse me, sorry. Like, bless me. So anyway, majority of the critics enjoyed the first movie. It's got an 88% of Rotten Tomatoes. I think it should get higher. But in my opinion, Robocop, I did a review of it. I'm going to do another review. I think I'd do a much better job. The movie is a perfect blend, in my opinion, of satire and action and sci-fi. It is really, 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 it's a classic. Made Peter Weller a household name. Before this, he did Buckaroo Banzai and stuff, but he really wasn't as well known by people until he did Robocop. And to this day, it's still his most memorable role. And you can see why. He delivered a fantastic performance. He did a great job playing, he was a man of a few words, but he did a fantastic job showing emotion. Showing this inner turmoil between a man who is part man, but he is also part machine, and dealing with the loss of his humanity, but still trying to get it back. So, Weller did a fantastic job. The whole cast is good. Miguel Ferrer is good. Of course, you have Ronnie Cox as Dick Jones, Nancy Allen, who is, in my opinion, hot and sexy as hell as Lewis. Dan O'Harley's the old man, which is a completely different take on a character, because before this he was in Last Starfighters as the alien that helped Grigg. He was Grigg in The Last Starfighter. And you have Kurtwood Smith, who steals the show as Clarence Boddicker. So you all know the whole story. Peter Weller plays Murphy. Alex Murphy gets gunned down by Boddicker and his gang. He gets basically brought back to life and turned into Robocop. And then, you have Robocop going around taking care of crime on the streets of Detroit. And then you have sequences where he's starting to remember, and his memory's starting to come back, and he starts to remember who he is. That he was once a man named Alex Murphy. And so then he decides to get revenge on the, Clarence Boddicker and his gang. And that's pretty much, it's a revenge story, really. It's pretty much a revenge story about Murphy getting killed in a line of duty, getting brought back as Robocop, and then getting some sweet revenge on Clarence Boddicker and company. And then it all in the same vein, all along in the same plot, he ends up basically, figuring out the corruption with OCP and takes care of Dick Jones. Shoots him out a window. So, basically, it's just a nice, really blend of good things. The satire is really funny. They have some really great, hilarious little commercials that intercut throughout the whole movie that add to really make it stand out. Some really fantastic suit design by Rob Bottin that does not need to be fucked with, and it's not fucking corny or cheesy. It doesn't look like an 80s toy. But, I'm going to get into that last. I'm going to save the best for last in that case, because that fucking bullshit motherfucking stupid piece of fucking cum fucking remake script, I'll get on that last. So anyway, Robocop, good bits of satire, good effects, good suit design by Rob Bottin, good stop motion animation by Phil Tippett. Just really, really solid. In every aspect, the film is really, really good. The score is very memorable. I think it was one of my favorite scores. As you can see, I have an intro, because, and Robocop is a very special character to me because, as you can see, OCP, my name of the channel is OCP. All my YouTube channels, except for the ones that I made outside of OCP, my main channels, have all had OCP in the title. Huge fan of Robocop. It's my favorite character on film, bar none. I've always liked Robocop. Huge fan of Robocop. And I didn't actually started out, how I started out loving the character was actually watching Robocop 3 when I was a kid. So, of course, through that, I was able to finally check out Robocop 2 and Robocop, the first film, when my mom thought I was old enough. And of course, I ended up liking those a lot more. I ended up drawing pictures of Robocop. You know, I ended up making my own little comic of Robocop versus Judge Dredd. I ended up doing all this kind of stuff when I was a kid. You know, one of the few toys that I still have that my dad got me that my mom didn't give away to Goodwill is Robocop. So, you know, if I had a poster of Robocop, I'd put that in place of the Vindicator, or put it right next to the Vindicator. I'm a huge fan of Robocop. And so the first movie is definitely the best of the series. It holds up remarkably well. It's aged great. It's like a fine wine. It works. It looks and works and plays just as well as it did back in '87. And even more so with the whole plot, with the idea of the corporations in the future. The future in Robocop is pretty realistic. And at this point, it's kind of scary because it seems like this film kind of predicted what is going on right now. The fact is, the future of Robocop is kind of happening right now. We're basically run by corporations. The News Corp owns Fox and owns Fox News. You're hearing about all the MPAA trying to buy off congressmen, you know, to get, you know, their bills passed. That's really what's going on right now. You know, the government is run by corporations right now. So it's scary because it really is true. It's true. What happened in Robocop with OCP and Omni Consumer Products is what's going on right now with corporations like News Corp. So it's kind of a scary thought. Hopefully it doesn't go, you know, get as bad as it did, you know, in the Robocop films, but you never know. I could definitely see these corporations trying to pull some shady shit. If they're not only, but I'm pretty sure they're already pulling some shady shit. But I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to pull even more shady shit. But anyway, I mean, like I said, the film's a great blend of satire, action, and sci-fi. I think it's the best blend of those three out there. So, Robocop is in my opinion, one of the best sci-fi action movies ever made. Definitely one of the best science fiction films. Memorable character, people loved it. Kids enjoyed it. Yes, kids did begin to enjoy the film and like it and get involved with it and so forth. But, you know, it's not a kids movie. And that is kind of, you know, but then Orion thought, kids are liking it. We found out the kids are enjoying it, so we got to try to make this a franchise and try to lean it more towards kids. And that was the beginning of the end for the character. Now, they started it off with the Marvel Comics. You know, the Marvel Comics helped, and the animation department started doing a cartoon on Robocop. And at this point, I think it was the first cartoon to ever be based on an R-rated film. And it shows. I mean, the cartoon, I don't like it. It didn't last very long. It only lasted like 13 episodes or so. It didn't do very well. And kids didn't really watch it. So, you know, I could see why. I mean, it basically followed the continuing event. It basically continued on the events after the first film. I think Boddicker, showed up as a robot or something in the cartoon. I don't know for sure. I'm not an expert on the cartoon. I have like one VHS tape of the Man in the Iron Suit, which I haven't even watched. So, you have that. There's a cartoon aimed for kids based on an R-rated film. Didn't do very well. But what they ended up doing is making toys. Robocop and the Ultra Police, an action figure line, which sold pretty well, and kids really liked it. It had cap firing action and everything, but I wasn't born back then, so, you know, I didn't have the pleasure of owning any of those toys. So I really don't know what to say about the toys, except that, you know, when I did that video, I did another RoboFiles about the action figures. They're kind of ridiculous. But hey, it keeps in line with the toys of the 80s. They're pretty ridiculous, and accessories and all this craziness anyway. So, in my opinion, Orion should have just done Robocop and the Ultra Police cartoon instead of just doing Robocop the cartoon, which is taking place after the film. But, you know, I guess they decided, they wanted to rush out a cartoon to get the kids involved, and it didn't do very well. But the toys did pretty well. So, by Kenner. I think Kenner released Robocop and the Ultra Police line. So after Robocop and the Ultra Police and the cartoon, 3 years later, they decided to do Robocop 2. Now, Paul Verhoeven, he was interested in continuing and doing Robocop 2, but he already had obligation to do Total Recall. So he's basically telling Ryan, hey, I want to do Robocop 2, but could you just, just wait for a little bit, and I want to come back and do it, but just wait a little bit, wait a year or so wait a few months after I'm done with Total Recall, and then we can do it. But they didn't want to wait. Orion didn't want to wait because they thought they had a franchise in their hands. Robocop, actually, if you think about it, is kind of Orion's first franchise. I might be wrong. I think the Terminator was released by Orion 2, but Terminator 2 was not released by Orion Pictures. So I don't know for sure. I think it was one of their first franchises. At least it might have been it might have been the first. If it wasn't the first, it definitely was one of their first. So they wanted to rush out Robocop 2. But still, it was like 3 years later, so I can understand why they wanted to get going. While the going was good, while kids were still buying the toys, and while Robocop was still in the public consciousness. So they hired Irvin Kershner to direct it, who was the director of Empire Strikes Back, and this is his final film. And sadly, he's passed away recently, and may he rest in peace. I think for his last film, I think he did a really good job. The screenplay was by Frank Miller and Waylon Green. Here's the issue with the screenplay. See, Robocop 2, this is about the production. Robocop 2 was directed by Irvin Kershner, and from a script by Frank Miller and Waylon Green. After the success of The Dark Knight Returns, the graphic novel, Frank Miller was contacted by producer John Davison about writing a sequel to the Davison-produced box office smash Robocop, directed by Paul Verhoeven. Miller enthusiastically accepted the offer, eager to make an impression in Hollywood, the way he had in comics the past decade. However, Miller's script was labeled unfilmable by producers and studio executives. His script was heavily changed to rewrites and drastically rewritten into what became Robocop 2. Even when his tenure as screenwriter was officially over, Miller showed up on set every day, eager to learn of the filmmaking process from start to finish. He was even given a cameo as Frank the Chemist. So a lot of critics seem to think this movie seemed kind of disjointed. It didn't seem like it had its plot points were all jumbled all over the place, and that can be because the original script was by Frank Miller, and it was convoluted and completely crazy and completely unfilmable. So they had to take out and remove, and rewrite and do countless rewrites to make it, something that you could actually make would actually make a good cinematic film. And because of that, I think what the final product is even more impressive to me, because I think Robocop 2 is on par with the original in my opinion. It's not as good. I mean, I wouldn't say that. I like Robocop 2, at certain points, just as much as the original. But there are some points where it's kind of like, but really, it's only like a teensy, like not half a step down for the original. And that's for a sequel, that's a really good job. But for some reason, critics did not enjoy the film. They didn't get into it. They thought it was overly violent. They thought it was, ultra violence it was really ultra violent and have a mean-spirited or whatever, and it didn't have enough satire, and I thought it had a lot of commercials, so it still had, remember Magnavolt, and and it gave Robocop, he met his match with Robocaine, and it touched upon the drug epidemic, and under the guise of Nuke, it had the balls to talk about a kid, a drug dealer and Hobb, a kid, and he gets killed in the end. Not that I'm condoning kids getting killed, but it was pretty ballsy. And I thought it was really a good idea. I thought the film worked really well. Memorable action sequences, some awesome moments. Kane, would you care to step outside? Of course, it's just like, basically lifting from Superman 2, but it's still an awesome sequence. Phil Tippett returns and does some really good stop motion effects for the Robocaine. And Peter Weller's coming back as Robocop. The design looks a little different, but the only reason why it looks different is because Peter Weller was like, hey, the original design was cool, but it was too heavy. I couldn't move around in it. and I was sweating my ass off and losing 10 pounds a day in the suit. If I'm going to do this, redo the suit so it's practical. And I don't have a problem with that. I could have done without the blue, whatever shiny hue that they had on the suit, but it still wasn't that bad. But basically, this was the last time Weller played the role, sadly, due to complaints of how cumbersome and exhausting it was to wear the suit. And also because Weller found Robocop 2 to be a very negative and disappointing film to work on. He complained about some scenes not making the final cut. There were a couple things that made the character more human that weren't used. I can't exactly remember exactly what the scenes were. I just remember wondering why they weren't in. The deleted scenes have never been included on video releases. Home video releases. Weller's co-star Nancy Allen also had negative feelings regarding the second film. I think it's also because she honestly wasn't in the film that much, and that's one thing that could have been, she could have had a little bit bigger role. That's one little problem I had with the film. But other than that, it's a solid, entertaining, fun sequel, which I really don't see why it's considered one of the worst sequels, why it gets a 5.5 out of 10 on IMDb, or why it has a 33% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's not that bad. I've read some reviews on IMDb complaining that it's over too violent. And I'm like, if one of your complaints, if you're a critic, and one of your complaints about RoboCop 2 is that it's too violent, then you stop writing reviews, because the first film was ultra violent too. So are you telling me that when Boddicker blew out Morton, Miguel Ferrer's knees and then threw a grenade, that's threw a grenade and basically in between his legs, that's not ultra violent? Are you telling me when RoboCop shot a guy in the dick, that wasn't ultra violent? Are you telling me that whole scene when that 219 shoots that guy up full of lead and just like a friggin' fountain of blood, that's not ultra violent? How about when RoboCop data spikes Boddicker in the neck? How about when Boddicker just goes on a rampage with those guns and his gang just starts blowing shit up? Nothing in RoboCop 2, in my opinion, is any more violent than the first movie. So I don't get that argument. Yes, the film is kind of disjointed. It's kind of, the plot, it's kind of all over the place. But the first film is kind of that way too. You have sequences, and then you cut to a commercial. So, in a way, the first film's kind of disjointed as well. But I thought, whatever issues I had with the second film, they weren't that many. There weren't really, it's kind of like how I feel about Indy 4. There's like a few little things here and there, but all in all, it's still an enjoyable experience. So, but due to the negative reaction by the critics and the box office totals were not as successful as the original, even though it debuted at number 2 in the box office when it came out in 1990, it didn't really make as much as the first movie. So we're going to look here on IMDb. It was made for $35 million, and it only made $45 million. So, comparison to the first movie, that is not nearly as much as it should. Not much as, really isn't. It didn't do very well. So, that's probably not. It didn't do very well. It didn't look like it did very well. It's not talking about the overseas totals though on IMDb. But anyway, not a huge success. I wouldn't say a flop, but not a huge success. And it might have been a flop because considering all the advertising and all the merchandising that the tie-ins they had for this film. So that probably wasn't, Orion probably wasn't happy about that. And you could see why. And part of it's just because of the negative critical reception and people bought into it and didn't go see the film. Which is too bad. So for some reason, still to this day, this movie is considered one of the worst sequels out there. I don't understand it. I don't see how it's that bad. It's a fun, entertaining sequel. No, it's not on the same level as the first film, but for a sequel, it's still a pretty damn good movie. Because there's a lot worse sequels out there than Robocop 2. Hayden 2, I'm talking to you. So after the critical, disaster that Robocop 2 was, because critics hated it, and all complained and bitched and whined about the violence, Orion finally had an excuse to go to the direction where they wanted to take the character in the first place. Straight to the kids. So, that led to Robocop 3. And Robocop 3 was rushed in production just like Child's Play 3 was. And Peter Weller, I think, he expressed he didn't want to do it, but I think at the same time they asked him about it, and he said, like, well, I really want to do Naked Lunch, but maybe after I do Naked Lunch, maybe I'll think about it, maybe I might do it, I don't know, but not right now, I just need to do Naked Lunch. And Orion was like, no, we don't want to wait, just like they didn't want to wait for Paul Verhoeven to return to direct for Robocop 2. And they decided to just rush it into production in 1991, a year after the first film. It didn't come out in theaters until 1993, and did absolutely jack shit in the box office. And you can see why. With no Peter Weller, the audiences already were divided. They were like, Peter Weller's not coming back? Then I don't want to see this. It was like, it's not like James Bond where you can just keep changing all the stars. Peter Weller was Robocop. Peter Weller still to this day is Robocop. And whenever people are going to talk about Peter Weller, the first thing that's going to come into people's minds is Robocop. Now, you know, I like him on Bucker Rabanza. I love him as in Leviathan. He's a really solid actor. He can do all different types of different roles and stuff. Robocop is his only shining moment, in my opinion. But it's definitely my favorite moment. It's my favorite role of his. And it's probably a lot of people's favorite role of Peter Weller is Robocop. So, Robocop 3 got even more negative reviews from, you know, than Robocop 2. But it's still... It's crazy. There were still some people who thought the film was better than Robocop 2. Like, in spirit is more like the first film. I have no idea what they were smoking. Anyway, Robocop 3 stars Robert John Burke. Robert John Burke comes in and replaces Peter Weller. Now, Robert John Burke, his tone of voice is way off. He looks the part, but his tone is way off. It's like he puts his tone like 2 octaves too low. He's all like, you know, don't count on it, chum. It just sounds really lame. First off, he's a really lame Robocop because also, out of the first 2 films, Robocop gets nicked up a little bit, takes his licks, you know. In the first movie, he got shot up by the Ed 209, then got shot up by the police, and then Lewis saved him, helped him nurse him back to health. And then Boddicker drops a bunch of steel girders on him. The second movie gets taken apart and by Hobb and the drug dealers. And you know, he gets put back together, and then he gets in a fight with Robocane, gets like a scar on his helmet with the blowtorch. So he takes his licks, but they're not to the extent of Robocop 3. Because in Robocop 3, the way that Robocop gets his ass kicked is embarrassing. In the first 2, I don't think it was really that embarrassing. I think it was shocking and it was really sad when he was taken apart in the second movie and just dumped on the side of the road. That was like, holy shit. You know? That was like, man, that sucks. So, but in the third movie, it was just like, this is just shitty. This is just lame. It was basically an excuse for a giant action figure commercial. And in a way it worked because I bought the action figures. The one Robocop figure that I have is from Robocop 3. And, you know, they sold some action figures with it. But, I mean, that defeats the purpose. I mean, the jetpack and the rocket and the gun arm attachments, they're cool. But the biggest issue with this film is the tone and the fact that it's rated PG-13. You go from 2 R-rated films to PG-13. Really not a good transition at all. It's jarring. It just doesn't work. Daniel O'Haley doesn't return as an old man, so Rip Torn takes over and is out of place and just doesn't belong there. You have the black guy who was the assistant of the old man in the film. He should have just been the head of OCP. Screw Rip Torn. You add this stupid plot about some Japanese merger with OCP, which is stupid, unneeded. Which then only reason why they had the merger is so they can have ninja robots, which look like shit. Embarrassing sequence: a ninja robot kicking Robocop's ass in a church. He's all like, "You're under arrest." Cuts off his fingers for destruction of police property. You're like, ugh, really bad. You have a villain, Daggett, who looks like Steve Martin which right at the bat is off-putting, and you can't take him seriously, so he's not intimidating in the least. You have an annoying little kid who can hack into an 829 and make it do her bidding and be loyal as a puppy. It's just... And Nancy Allen's barely in it. Lewis gets killed, and the way that she gets killed is not heroic at all. She just basically... She gets shot by Daggett, and Robocop just stands there, and he could have got in front of the shot that Daggett was firing the gun. Robocop could have got in front of it, but he didn't, which makes Robocop in this movie kind of look like an ass. So, there was one good shot of him carrying her in the church, but it's not as effective, because then when you think about it, he could have saved her, so then it really doesn't work very well. And of course you have the dumb line, don't count on it, chum. Just really bad, corny lines, a shitty script, and really bad directing from Fred Dekker. And this is the last movie that he directed, and I could see why. He has none of the flair or none of the sense of action or fun in this movie that he had in his first two films, Monster Squad and Night of the Creeps. Those movies are great. Those movies should have been hits. And the fact is they weren't. And so then he was struggling to get any work. So he got the job for Robocop 3, directed it did nothing, and then Hollywood just basically blacklisted him, and he's never directed anything since. And you can understand why. He wrote the screenplay, and he directed this shitty movie. So he's basically to blame for every fucking problem that this movie has. First off, and I like Fred Dekker, but I do not like Robocop 3. I would like to see him direct something again, but, I can see why Hollywood doesn't want to take a chance. Because they're like, well, you did Night of the Creeps and Monster Squad that didn't do very well box office-wise. None of your movies have made any money in the box office, and you directed Robocop 3. And they'd be like, yeah, I did direct Robocop 3, I can understand. So he's just been writing a lot of stuff, and that's fine. He's a good writer when it comes to horror, but the sci-fi action thing didn't do a very good job with that. So in my opinion, Robocop 3 should have been R-rated from the start. There should have been no reason for it. Robert John Burke could have come back, could have played Robocop, but I think the biggest issue with him is he looks the part, but the dialogue that he has is so fucking stupid and insipid that it makes Robocop look like an idiot. Robocop's getting his ass handed to right and left. Doesn't help make the character look any cooler. He's basically an excuse to sell toys. If you were going to have the gun arm attachments and stuff and the flamethrowers, should have made it R. Should have had him shooting up people with miniguns, blood and guts over brains flying everywhere, fucking up a bunch of people. In the jetpack, he'd be shooting missiles, blowing people up right and left. Get rid of the stupid subplot with the police. I kind of like the police quitting. You could still have that in there, but don't need the whole girl and her homeless group of whatever, ragtag freedom fighters. Don't really give a shit. We didn't need that. Daggett and his police force or whatever. Housing development, something. The urban rehabilitators, the rehabs, needed to be R-rated. You could see sequences in this film where the film was trying to be R-rated, but it couldn't. Like the scene with the rehab officers trying to rape one chick, and then Robocop comes in and kicks their ass. That's the kind of tone the film needed to take. It needed to go really dark. It needed to go twisted. It needed to still have the satire and thing going on with it, too. But I like the idea of the rehab officers. Here's how you make it automatically better. Screw the guy who looks like Stone. Screw John Castle, who looks like freaking Steve Martin. Cast Michael Ironside as the bad guy, as Daggett. Still have the rehab officers, but have Daggett, after a while, these rehab officers are running wild throughout the whole city, screwing things up, wreaking havoc. Robocop has to come in and stop them, but at the same time, Daggett's got this power. He's gotten power hungry. He's thinking about, I got this army behind me. I'm going to take over the whole city. Screw OCP. They're paying for my salary. Whatever. I want their salary. So that adds an interesting note to it. The rehabs, Daggett and the rehab officers decide to take over OCP. The cops, since they're outnumbered by these rehab officers, and OCP doesn't want to use cops to help with this whole thing. The cops can still quit, and the cops can side with RoboCop and kick the rehab officers' asses. Not have the rehab officers hire some gangs so the cops can fight the gangs. That's just cliched. So if you have the rehab officers fighting against cops, OCP is now conflicted between who to root for. Am I root for Robocop and the cops? We don't like the cops. We don't want to pay them. But these rehab officers have gotten under control. So what are we going to do? So you could add that sort of thing going on there. Robocop is outnumbered because he's got all of these freaking army of rehab officers wreaking havoc in Detroit. So he has to get help from the cops. Nancy Allen Lewis doesn't die. She stays with Robocop. And maybe she could die at the end, but it'll be heroic. Something heroic. Like some I don't know. Is there like a bomb set in the tower or something or whatever? I don't know yet. But my ideas aren't completely fleshed out with Robocop 3. But they'd be a hell of a lot better than... Anything would be better than robot ninjas, little girls, hacking into Ed 209s, Don't Count Out Chum, and, Steve Martin is a bad guy. And Rip Torn. Anything would be better than that. So, right off the bat, the movie takes the character just takes a steep dive towards basically the shitter with Robocop 3. They made him for kids. They took away his balls. They took away the R rating, and they fucked it up. So, because once again, kind of like Turtles 3 and Turtles 2, the parents and critics and people freaked out about how violent the second movie was, and so Robocop 3 was basically kind of the result. And then after that, a year after, Orion unleashed Robocop the series on the world, which was even more kidified bullshit. Richard Eden played Robocop. He was okay. I remember the pilot episode being alright. I remember it being better than Robocop 3. But that's not saying much. Robocop 3 is really bad, so if you're better than that, that's comparing diarrhea to shit. It's really not, not much of a difference. I remember not being a big fan of the show because, for example, Robocop is just a continuing decline of the character. His balls are going away now. He can't shoot people. He's got to do trick shots. He's got a villain that, belongs in a Dick Tracy comic in Pudface, which is laughable. Its attempts at satire were okay, sometimes okay, but Commander Cash got really annoying at times. The series, as it went on, got gradually more and more and more cheesy, and then eventually got canceled. The Nielsen's ratings were okay at best. They weren't all that. It got canceled. I think it ran from like 93 to 94 to I think it was a 1994 television series. It was 22 episodes. It ran from it was in 1994. It was on Fox. So basically what happened is, while Robocop was essentially, Robocop the series is a 1994 television series based on the film of the same name. Stars Richard Eden as a title character. Made to appeal primarily to children and young teenagers. It lacks the graphic violence that was a hallmark of Robocop and Robocop 2. Robocop has several non-lethal alternatives to killing criminals, like foam and nets, and stupid shit, which ensures that certain villains can be reoccurring. The OCP chairman and his corporation are treated as simply naive and ignorant, in contrast to their malicious and immoral behavior from the second film onward. While Robocop was initially an American property, Orion Pictures received a $500,000 cash infusion for TV licensing rights to Canada's Skyvision Entertainment. This allowed access to co-production treaties and possible partnerships with other countries. The series was filmed in Toronto and Mississauga, Canada, and originally planned for a January 1994 debut, several months after the unsuccessful release of Robocop 3. Skyvision was also in negotiation with Peter Weller, the original Robocop, but this did not come to fruition. 22 episodes were made, but the series was not renewed for a second season. Expense played a significant part in this. According to Skyvision VP Kevin Gillis, episodes were produced at $1.2 million and to $1.5 million each. The pilot episode runs 2 hours. It was adapted from a discarded Robocop 2 script, Corporate Wars, from the writers of original Robocop, Edward Norminer and Michael Miner. The pilot episode, the villains on the series include Boppo the Clown, Dr. Crazy Malardo, the fuck, OCP Executive Chip Jakin, William Ray Morgan, aka Pudface, and Vlad Molotov. The series gave writers more of an opportunity to develop the central characters, extend the human interest aspect to the introduction of Gadget, the station mascot, and the adopted and insightful daughter of Station Sergeant Parks. Gadget, along with the president Jimmy Murphy, did much to shift the focus from the adult to the youth target audience. The writers also introduced an element of virtual romance and Dulce Machina and persona of Diana, formerly Secretary of Cricket Vice President Chip Chaikin, who becomes transmogrified through her death into the face and body of Metronet, city's running supercomputer. Many of the characters' names were altered from the original movie counterparts due to rights issues. Sounds pretty shitty. But anyway, the series as of right now is not released in the United States. It was released in Canada, though, on July 27th, 2010. I have the pilot episode on Laserdisc. I might watch it sometime and review it, but that's my opinion on Robocop the series. Is they officially have gone into the kiddie zone. It's for kids now. Now, when you think it could not get any worse than Robocop the series, well, no, Robocop the series episodes I've seen aren't the worst I've ever seen, but they seem like low rent versions of the Flash TV series. You get this. You get, my opinion, I thought this was the worst that this character would fall to. And boy, was I wrong. You get, after Robocop the series, about 4 years later, you get Robocop Alpha Commando, which was a short-lived animated series based on the Ryan Pictures film Robocop and the series of films that followed in the 1980s and 1990s. It was a second animated version of the character following on from Robocop the animated series. The series premiered on September 7, 1998 and ran until February 3, 1999. It was the final animated series from Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer Animation. As of 2011, none of the show's 40 episodes have been released on DVD. The series is currently streaming on Hulu. Wow! It shouldn't be streaming on Hulu. No one needs to watch the steaming pile of shit. The series is set in 2030 and deals with Robocop being reactivated after 5 years offline to assist a federal high-tech group, Alpha Division, and the vigilance and struggle against DARK, Directorate for Anarchy, Revenge, and Chaos. A highly advanced terrorist organization and other forces of evil wherever they may be globally or nationally. It's fucking G.I. Joe. It's basically their version of Cobra. The series shared many of the same writers who contributed to the 1980s animated series, but had even less in common with the movies or television canon that was based on. Robocop has numerous gadgets in his body that were never in the film, such as roller skates and a parachute. Yeah! Robocop with fucking roller skates and a goddamn parachute. They turned him into fucking Inspector Gadget. This shitty ass cartoon. And the animation style is fucking ugly as fucking sin. I mean, he's this giant big ass body and this pinhead. It's just really tiny fucking head, giant big ass body. It looks like a fucking deformed mutant. I hate this show. I saw one episode back in the day on a rerun, and it pissed me off so much. I saw the toys for this. I was like, why the fuck does RoboCop look like he's got a why does he look like he has gigantism or some shit? What the fuck is wrong with RoboCop's body? Why is his head the size of a fucking acorn or the size of a really tiny fucking head? And a giant big ass body. It just fucking looks stupid. And fucking roller skates. And parachutes. And other fucking bullshit. So you go from badass, ultimate badass in the first movie, in the second film, to I'm rolling on roller skates and parachutes coming out of my ass. That's great. Wonderful. It's like literally, it goes from so fucking badass, the highest point you could possibly get with this iconic character in RoboCop, to fucking just corny, cheesy shit. The fucking kiddie shit. It's just sad that he goes from, your move, creep, to I got parachutes coming out of my ass. It's fucking great. So anyway, the show also suffers from major continuity errors, because in the first episode we see RoboCop's son and his memories flashback, and he appears around 10. We later see his son in the series to be the exact same age and even wearing the same clothing as his memories. The names of RoboCop's wife and son were also changed to Susan and Richie. The absence of Ann Lewis was never explained. Besides RoboCop himself, Sergeant Reed and Alex J. Murphy are the only characters from the movies in the series. Unlike the movies, the previous TV incarnations, Robocop never takes off his helmet in Alpha Commando. Yeah, I don't really know what to say about Alpha Commando except it's a fucking piece of shit and a stain on the fucking character. So, now Robocop, his dignity is gone. No dignity, it's been erased, like all the directives that he erased. Oh, you thought he erased. There's another problem with Robocop 3. His directives came back, even though he shocked them out of his head in Robocop 2. But anyway, after that you think it can't get any worse. You know, there's no way. And in some ways, I don't think that that Robocop Prime Directives is worse than Alpha Commando. Because I don't think you can get worse than Robocop with rollerblades and fucking parachutes. But still pretty bad in my opinion. Because the thing is about the show, it's just way too fucking long. It's 4 movies that are like 94 minutes long. And they have one plot thread trying to run through them all. And it's like, just make one movie, okay? And then, if it does well, then release another that has a completely different plot. But anyway, it was a TV miniseries released in 2001, Robocop Prime Directives. It's based on Robocop, directed by Paul Verhoeven. It's actually 5 movies, not 4. The series consisted of 5 feature-length movies. 5 feature-length movies. That's 94 minutes each, so that might turn. That's like almost 6 or 7 hours long. That has to be like one of the longest miniseries I've ever heard of. It, like not North and South long, but still pretty fucking long. The movies were called Dark Justice, Meltdown, Resurrection, Crash and Burn, and Final Justice. I haven't seen these in forever, but I will end up watching them someday down the road and get my thoughts on them. Fireworks Entertainment stated that they wanted to make the use of TV rights to Robocop before they expired, and thus ordered the Prime Directives be made, selecting Julian Grant to direct. Grant had a reputation for finishing projects ahead of schedule and under budget. He in turn picked Joseph O'Brien and Brad Abraham to write the series. Richard Eden, who played the role of Robocop during the 1995 series, was approached to reprise his role for the role approached to reprise the role for the series, but negotiations broke down for an unspecified reason. Paige Fletcher turned down the role of Robocop in the 1995 series while it was in an embryonic stage of development. Keeping this in mind, after negotiations with Eden failed, Fletcher was on the short list to play Robocop in the Prime Directives. He read the 450-page script in one sitting, and was so taken by it that he wept. He subsequently met with director Julian Grant and agreed to play the dual role of Alex Murphy in Robocop. Paige Fletcher isn't a bad actor, but his body type is not right for this role. He's too fucking short. He looks like a goddamn runt. Robo-runt. Not very intimidating. Now, Peter Weller, I don't think he's the tallest guy around, but he's definitely not a runt. So right off the bat, you got an unintimidating Robocop who is way too fucking short, which really doesn't help. The previous incarnation of Robocop was a family-friendly TV series in 1995. Grant had no interest in perpetuating this approach, however, and returned Robocop to his dark, violent roots. Although Prime Directive takes 10 years after the original film, the production was not permitted to use clips from future films. However, MGM had licensed shots of Murphy's death scene with the original film for television to use, so the creators of the Prime Directives took the footage the TV show used, recovered the shots blue, and used them in the third film of the series, Resurrection. Basic continuity. Prime Directives takes place 10 years after the first Robocop film. There's also, actually, I think there's also a Dark Horse comic called Prime Directives, and it has nothing to do with this. In fact, I'm glad, because the Dark Horse comic Prime Directives I thought was shit. The comic book, the artwork was horrible. Speaking of comics, I'll just quickly talk about that real quick. So the comics, Prime Directives was through Dark Horse, and they did some other comics, as well. Dark Horse, I think, did some good Robocop comics. They did a comic adaptation of Robocop 3, which was a little bit more based on the script that Frank Miller was trying to do, but it still was pretty shitty. Then you basically had, Marvel did adaptation for Robocop and Robocop 2, and then they did a short-lived comic series, Marvel did, and it was more aimed for kids too. It was kind of shitty. I remember issues of Robocop fighting a giant dinosaur and a fucking ape. Yeah, a robotic ape. It was pretty bad. And then, you had Dark Horse did Robocop vs. Terminator with Frank Miller, which is awesome in my opinion. And then right now, I think Dynamite, Terminator vs. Robocop. I have that comic. I'm going to rant on that fucking comic sometime. That comic is ass. By Dynamite. I think it's by Dynamite. Fucking suck. So goddamn depressing. The ending is it's so fucked. I'll get into that later. But anyway, Robocop in the comics had some decent comics, so Prime Directives, in my opinion, wasn't one of them. But anyway, the series takes place 10 years after the first one. The series is largely considered an alternate reality of the films, as major events, the second and third films, the television series, are completely ignored. In contrast to the events shown in the films, Delta's facility is developed and OCP is not dissolved. The theatrical movie series, Murphy is publicly revealed to be converted into Robocop and openly uses legally deceased name, whereas in the series, Murphy's identity remains secret until the fourth episode, which he legally recognized police commander Alex Murphy, formerly known as Robocop Model 01. Co-writer Joseph O'Brien stated, "There's nothing in PD that significantly contradicts those other versions. The reasoning behind her setting her story 10 years later was just to give herself a distance, creatively and temporarily, to tell her tale, and not out of any disrespect for these early incarnations, nor the people responsible for them." In regards to the character of Anne Lewis, O'Brien went to say, "As far as we're concerned, Anne Lewis is dead. Whether this happened in Robocop 3 or not, we leave this discretion of the individual viewer." 10 years after the first film's events, Robocop has become outdated and tired. Delta City, former Detroit, is now considered the safest place on Earth and is no longer viewed as particularly necessary. First half of the series features Alex Murphy's former partner, John T. Cable, was slain by Robocop after his system is hacked to program him to terminate Cable. Cable is then resurrected as a cyborg, in most aspects identical to Robocop model, for the color in addition to the second sidearm. Cable is sent to destroy Robocop, but after several battles, Cable is convinced to join Murphy. It's basically Black Robocop. And it's okay, it's just... I think the low budget hampers the show, and also it's trying to do too much. It's trying to do way too much. It really should have just stuck with one movie. I really don't think the 5 movies was really necessary to tell this story. Meanwhile, OCP is on the verge of bankruptcy, is taken over by Shimming executive Damian Lowe, who manages to murder the entire board of directors. To bring OCP back, he plans to use an artificial intelligence called Saint to automate the entire city. The second half of the series introduces Dr. David Kadick, who plans to produce a biotech virus, Legion, to wipe out not only Delta City, but all life on the planet, affecting computers and people alike. He takes control of Cable by planting a chip in him that causes him pain or death at Kadick's discretion. Robocop receives aid from a group of tech thieves led by Anarchy, Leslie Hope, who are determined to stop Kadick. And Robocop's own son, James Anthony Lemke, now is fully grown and aware of his father's fate. Robocop and his ragtag band race to stop Kadick from infiltrating OCP Tower and activating Saint, which would presumably kill almost all humans. During the confrontation, Robocop and James reconciled with each other and managed to rekindle Robocable's previous personality. Anarchy and Kadick both die during a confrontation with each other. Utilizing James's EMP device, having shut down Robocop, Robocable and Legion are terminated. Robocop gets rebooted without his previous OCP restriction programming, as well as restoring his identity as Alex Murphy, as opposed to OCP product number and his prime directives. Reviewing goodbye message left by Cable, Murphy returns to active duty to stop resultant crime in Delta City due to the EMP bolts blacking out the city, deciding by his own that he will follow his 3 prime directives: serve the public trust, protect the innocent, and uphold the law. In that epilogue, we see that Murphy and his allies have formed the Prime Directives Foundation. Yeah. So anyway, it was released. I do remember it being released on Sci-Fi Channel. It's a big thing back in 2001. I was kind of excited about it, but I just don't remember very many good things about it. I don't. I haven't seen it forever, so... But the plot... I remember, like, really, does that plot sound like it needs to span 5 movies? No. It should just combine them all into one film. It's like 2 hours long. You're good to go. So that's probably one of the problems with the film. A lot of people... The series, people had a lot of problem. Probably one of the main problems a lot of people had with the series is it's too fucking long. It's totally understandable, and the effects were kind of shitty. And Robocop's a runt. But anyway, after that, you're thinking, okay, Robocop's done. They've done everything they can with this character. There's nothing more you can do with him. Just leave it alone. Just let him rust. Just let him, just let this character die off. I love Robocop, but I don't need to see any more. I don't need to see him get fucked over again. And then you hear about the Robocop remake, which originally was announced to be directed by Darren Aronofsky. He wanted to do a little bit more human, a little more dramatic sort of touch on it. In all honesty, I would rather see what Darren Aronofsky had to say about the character rather than this fucking remake. Because this fucking remake's just a disgrace and an insult to the first film. It's just like literally a slap in the face to the fans of the franchise who have already been fucked with enough. If you're a fan of this character, you know exactly how I feel. Robocop has already been screwed and dicked around over and over and over again, and now it's happening all over. It's starting all over. It's starting all over again. You know, they're taking a Jack dildo and just ramming it up his ass. And Jack dildo's like a jackhammer with a dildo at the end, and they're fucking him in the ass. And that's what they did before, but now it's not just one Jack dildo, it's two fucking Jack dildos. You got two Jack dildos, jackhammer dildos, just trying to fuck Robocop's asshole with this shitty fucking remake. Now, right off the bat, I don't know for sure if this remake news is actually, I don't know. Is it actually true? Could be fake. But, even if it turns out to be a hoax, it still does not change the fact that the idea is fucking retarded. It's just a stupid idea to remake Robocop in the first place. Who the hell? Why do you need to remake it? Why is there? It's perfect. It's the first film is standalone. It's great on its own. There's nothing. You can't make it better. You're not gonna make it better. If you're not gonna have Peter Weller, then Joel Kinnaman ain't gonna help. It's just a stupid idea to remake the first film. It holds up fantastic to this day. I really don't see what the issue is. I really don't see why Hollywood has to keep remaking movies that are good, that are great, that are classics. It's not like you're going to do a better job, but for some reason they think they will. And they keep making them because at least it gets the opening weekend and audiences are willing to spend their money on them. So as long as they think that audiences are willing to spend their money on these remakes and they'll make at least the opening weekend bucks, they'll keep doing it. So you have this remake, which is first stuff was announced. Jose Padilla was going to direct it. This guy who did Elite Squad 1 and 2, never seen the movies, so I don't know what to say about him. Joel Kinnaman was cast as Alex Murphy, Robocop, and first thing out of his mouth was freaking, "Oh, I'm a fan of the first film, I love it, but Murphy, my character in this film is going to be a lot more better acting, and more of an acting performance. I'm not just going to stand around there and not move my jaw." I'm like, what the fuck? I mean, that pissed me off, and you saw that video before, iRobot with the see-through visor and shit. So already, it was fucking, the news was already fucking shit about the remake. I knew it was a stupid idea from the get-go, and then you have Joel Kinnaman open up his fucking mouth, and then, give me a bad case of indigestion, made me want to throw up. But then I found out about this remake news, and it made me want to throw up, and made me want to, leak out of both ends. Throw up, take, diarrhea, throw up, diarrhea, throw up, they're both in the same time, It just really, I wasn't nearly necessarily super pissed when I first heard about it. I was just shocked. I could not believe how badly that the writer had fucked up this script. So what I have noticed now with this recent news on this Robocop remake is whoever is fucking involved with this movie doesn't like the first movie. So just like Matt, Rambo Rat for Life, had his long rant about Universal Soldier 3 and 4 and how John Hyams doesn't give a shit about the first movie, I feel that way about the writer of Robocop remake. You don't like the first movie, you asshole. You obviously don't. Don't call yourself a fan of the first movie if, you're fucking writing this shit. And then also, Joel Kinnaman, don't call yourself a fan of the first movie either if you're insulting Peter Weller's performance. Fans of the first movie aren't going to insult Peter Weller's performance. Okay? Whether that was your intention or not, doesn't change the fact you insulted him. You should have known better not to say, "Oh, I'm going to do a better acting performance." Like hell you will. So anyway, this is what we're waiting for about an hour in, and we'll just get to this fucking shit, and I'll get it over with, and get it off my chest. So anyway, this is from McQueenie. Right at the bat, Drew McWeeny from HitFix on Twitter, he got a chance to look at the script. And believe it or not, folks, that happens a lot more often than not. People get to look at the script. And like I said, if it does turn out to be fake, okay, doesn't change the fact the remake's still probably going to fucking suck, and it's still a stupid idea. It's like remaking the Terminator. It's dumb. It is lame-brained and retarded. There's no reason to remake Robocop, and there's no reason to remake the Terminator. There's no reason to remake Nightmare on Elm Street or Halloween, but they still did it. Or Total Recall, which I haven't seen yet, but we'll see about that movie. But anyway, this is McWeeney's tweets about the script. I tried to read the Robocop remake, but 20 pages in, my nose started bleeding and I forgot my name. I'll share this one detail. In the film, when Murphy is turned into Robocop 1.0, it's described as a high-tech version of the 80s suit. Alright. Then they show a focus group scene where criminals laugh at the design. He looks like a toy from the 80s. So they redesigned him as to look meaner as Robocop 2.0, who passes focus group approval. So they not only make sure to include the original design, but also point out that it's dated and stupid. Yeah, that's a fucking great idea! So just like Universal Soldier 4 making Van Damme a fucking bad guy, which obviously shows that the writers or the directors of that piece of shit fucking Day of Reckoning don't give a shit about the character of Luke Devereaux, the fucking writers of this goddamn remake don't give a shit about the character of Robocop either if they're gonna fucking insult the iconic, fucking awesome, badass costume design by Rob Bottin. And recently, for some reason, Rob Bottin's been getting fucked around with and shat on recently because Total Recall, people were saying it was remade because the effects in the first film are shit. He won an Oscar for those effects. I'd like to see Total Recall remake win an Oscar. And then he has this asshole saying that his design for Robocop looks dated and fucking stupid. What the fuck? It looks like a toy from the 80s. It's fucking bullshit. It's stupid. It's just disrespectful. It's like it's like a slap in the face to your fans. It pisses me off because how the fuck would you, just to have the balls or the wherewithal or the gall to fucking write that is beyond me. And the only way you would even consider writing a fucking scene like that is if you do not like the fucking movie. If you're not a fan of the fucking first film, or if you're not a fan of the character, and if you're not a fan of the suit, then you write that fucking shit. So why the fuck do we have an asshole who has no fucking love of the first movie writing the fucking screenplay? Same thing with Universal Soldier 4 and Universal Regeneration. You don't have people who have a love of the character. They just write fucking random shit and call it a fucking day. It's fucking bullshit, and this fucking shit continues with his motherfucking stupid fucking remake script with this bullshit. Hold on to your sides for more hilarious Robocop details. They outsource this construction to China. Yeah! Seriously! To China! Fucking whoa! Yay! And we meet the ED-209s, or remember the ED-209s, in the field in Iran where they're used to subdue suicide bombers. What the fuck? This isn't Robocop anymore. Subdue suicide bombers? Subdue means capture. We're gonna have fucking net guns in the end on their arms? Instead of fucking badass fucking guns, they're gonna have net guns. You're gonna have fucking terrorists running around, then boof, net gun, and take their asses back to fucking America or some shit. What the fuck? ED-209s, fucking in the field and around. This guy's, he's like, short version, the script makes my stomach hurt very, very badly. Agree with you. Makes me want to fucking gag. Now they just dropped Robocop 3.0 into an Al-Qaeda training camp to see what he does. It's not fucking Iron Man! That's not Robocop anymore if you're dropping him into a fucking war zone. What the fuck does a cop have to do with... It's Robo-Warrior or Robo-Soldier or some fucking shit. What the fuck? He's not fucking Iron Man. Jesus. And you go into that. After that, you have he should be programmed to incapacitate in all scenarios. Agreed. Let's keep him PG-13, Dr. Norton. I just believe a complete utter fucking moron wrote this. Has to be. A fucking moron wrote this script. Because lines like that? Are you fucking kidding me? You're just going to be casting in all scenarios. I want to make a bet this movie will be PG-13. And it will suck. It'll be like Robocop the series. Robocop's going to do in trick shots. Fuck. By page 454, they're already into Robocop 4.0. What the fuck? It looks like a cop on steroids painted metallic blue. So it's like, oh, we like the design for Robocop 2, but let's paint it metallic blue with the Robocop 4.0. Fucking 4.0? The fuck? This stupid shit! God! Fucking bullshit. Fucking spill my water all over the fucking place, man. Shit. So much fucking shit, man. God damn it. I mean, it's because he's already been fucked with so much already. It's fucking... It's unreal. I mean, Robocop... Like I said in this whole video, he's already been fucked with. And they get fucked with again with this shit. God. Oh God, oh dear God. Robocop is Transformer. Yep. He goes from social mode to combat mode and back. This is worse than Robocop 3 and the toy, attachments and fucking gun arms and jetpacks. A fucking Transformer? A motherfucking Transformer? Robocop's a fucking Transformer? It's fucking Iron Man? He might as well have fucking rollerblades coming out of his fucking legs and fucking parachutes flying out of his ass. He might as well be fucking... Might as well have like birthday balloons and shit coming out of his arms or some fucking shit. Fucking Transformer? Fuck! Robocop's a fucking Transformer. More than meets the eye. It's fucking to social mode and combat mode and fucking the original design is dated and stupid and it's silly and goofy and fucking goddamn it, it's fuck. Lose it. This fucking bullshit. He's already been fucked with enough. Fucking Alpha Commando. Fucking Robocop 3. Loyal like a fucking puppy. Fucking goddamn it. Fucking Robo Runt and now fucking Transformer, Iron Man. Fucking bullshit. Ugh. Sorry for that, I had a nervous breakdown there. I'm just passionate about this. It's gone too far. I mean, trust me, folks. I'm fine. I'm not. I haven't lost my I haven't lost my sanity yet. Getting close, because imagine if your beloved character, kind of like Matt feels about Luke Devereaux. Imagine your beloved character, your favorite character, has just become a total joke. And that's what Robocop is right now. The state of Robocop is a fucking joke, and that's bullshit. This fucking this goddamn script is written by a fucking moron who doesn't like the fucking original movie, or doesn't give a shit about the character, and the shit continues with even more ridiculousness. Page 55. This guy's like, the Robocop remake beat me. I'm done. I can't hurt more than this. I feel your pain. Okay, the two best lines in the script. First up is the unveiling ceremony for Robocop in Detroit from a TV reporter covering it. I think it's safe to say that Alex Murphy is now part man, part machine, and all cop. fucking goddamn piece of shit remake. Ah! Ah! You remember that from the trailer? Oh God! This is fucking. We're so fucking clever. Let's have the fucking tagline from the first fucking movie. In the movie, it's like a nice homage. Hey, fanboys, don't you like that? No! Sorry. This movie, this shit fucking news is breaking me. It's breaking my balls. Yes, then it continues. After the traumatic first meeting with his father, Alex's son retreats to the apartment of Lewis, Murphy's male partner. Oh yeah, Lewis isn't a chick anymore. It's a fucking guy. Let's make it as generic as possible. Great. The scene ends with the action line. David sits catatonic and looks at the TV. MGM remake. To be determined. Really? So now the MGM remake to be... So they're going to remake... What? They're going to have shots from another fucking disgrace? That's their sense of humor, folks, is... I guess just to piss you off. I guess just angry humor. Let's just piss fans off. It's not humor. You're just... God, if I could get a hold... If that fucking screenwriter was there, like, right here, I would just... Right where my hands are right now, I'd just swing a little fucking neck. No. Wouldn't do that. No death threats. I've thought about it. It doesn't mean I'll do it. God, it's driving me nuts. Now this shit continues. Someone shows Pope, the head of OCP project, some mock-ups of Robocop action figures. I think Pope was played by Samuel Jackson. This is probably how the line will go. Are you kidding? I wouldn't buy that for $1! I'm like, yeah. That just happened. Not very fucking funny, now is it? Another fucking great line from the first movie. Let's reuse it because the fans of the original movie need shitty fan service. We're not talking about good fan service. We're talking about half-assed fan service. We're like, oh, you're a fan of the first movie. We're doing a remake. We'll throw in the line there. Who would buy that for $1? It's true. But this piece of shit, I wouldn't buy this for a fucking $1. That's for sure. I wouldn't buy a ticket for this goddamn remake. It was for free. Or for a fucking penny. Or fucking... I wouldn't buy it for anything. I wouldn't buy it for $1. Will $1 get my sanity back? Will I fucking get my sanity back? Jesus fucking Christ! So basically, that's it. That's the fucking bullshit. That's the script. Now, necessarily, yes, he might have just picked out all the bad moments. There might be some decent things. He's trying to say there might be some good action sequences. But good action sequences don't make a fucking difference in the world to me if the script is going to be this fucking insulting the fans of the fucking first film. It's like slapping me in the fucking face. And like I've said already about leading up this whole video, Robofiles, State of Robocop, History of Robocop, I've talked about everything I possibly talk about the character, and then you go into the, this is where he's at right now. He goes from badass, super cop, your move creep, call me Murphy, to just badass, to fucking Transformer, a fucking Iron Man wannabe. It's just it's just gone to the point now that how much lower can this franchise stoop to? How deep into the shit can this fucking franchise go? And it looks like it can go a lot farther than I thought it could. After cartoons with Robocop with roller skates and fucking parachutes and Robo-Runt, and now you have Robocop's a fucking transformer with 4 or 6 fucking different fucking modes. Fucking guy playing Robocop who doesn't like the character or doesn't like Peter Weller's performance because he insults him in an interview. A writer who doesn't give a fuck about the character or the original design from the original film by Robo-Teen. Because if you did, you wouldn't write this fucking shit. If it is rewritten, it will not ever... even if there is a rewrite and this shit is cut out, it still is not going to change the fact that it was written. The damage has already been done. The bridge has already been burned. The fact that you even fucking had the thought in your head to write shit like this is unforgivable, in my opinion. It's unfucking forgivable. So, answer the question, how do I feel about this fucking remake? I fucking hate it! It's fucking driving me nuts! So, that's how I feel about this fucking remake. I hated the idea from the start, and this news is just making me hate it even more. And I wouldn't be surprised if even more news leaked out and the new Robocop design looks like ass. And I wouldn't be surprised if every single fucking piece of news that I fucking see about this goddamn remake will give me a motherfucking brain aneurysm. I wouldn't be surprised. It's already fucking with my head enough as it is. Apologize if I've scared you or, freaked you out. But this is really how I feel. It is the state of Robocop, where he is right now, has driven me fucking insane. It drives me nuts. I think about it. I don't think about it all the time, but whenever I hear this news, it just makes me think about it. And it makes me, it just, a little piece of me dies inside every time I find out news about this character and how he's just getting railroaded and fucked up the ass. There's nowhere else he can go but down, it seems like. The only way that I think you can save this character is get an animated movie, hardcore, Frank Miller, style, like the Frank Miller comic that came out recently, have Peter Weller do the voice, which I think he wouldn't be opposed to doing the voice of Robocop, since he's doing the voice of Batman The Dark Knight Returns. You might be able to salvage a little bit of the character and bring him back to, his past glory. But right now, he's stuck in, he's up somebody's fucking glory hole, and that's really not where he needs to be. In fact, it's just like I said, leave him alone, let him rust, let him fall apart, whatever. Let him sit in the junkyard. I'm fine with it. I love the character too much to see him continuously getting fucked over like this. If seeing another Robocop movie on the screen means he's just going to be turned into a fucking transformer, then I don't want to see it, and I'm not all for it. I just want the character, just leave him alone, let him die, don't fuck with him anymore. He's been fucked with enough. It's sad. It's a sad, sad story. It's like a fall from grace, man. You could do like a whole behind the movie or behind the music story about Robocop, because he was at height in '87 and he was really a cool character, new inventive character, and then fucking bullshit, fucking corny ass, fucking cheesy shit. The character's now, he's a fucking joke, and that's fucking bullshit. So anyway, I don't know what to say, folks, except thanks for watching this long-ass video on the history of Robocop. And, I will see you guys later. See ya. I'm gonna go try to find my sanity. I think it went out the door. I think I'm gonna have to go catch it. So wish me luck, and hopefully, I will be a sane individual soon, and I won't, go on a rampage. So definitely don't, just, ugh. So anyway, once again, thanks for watching, and thank you for your cooperation, and I will see you later.